What's up guys, video we'll be discussing in depth of what you should be doing, rather what you should be buying when you're planning a trip to Himachal Pradesh, Kashmir or Ladakh in winter. This includes even Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. So what are the things that you should be buying, and this is how I would go about buying my products for the trip, because what is the gear you need is ultimately going to be your your lifesaver, I would say, for your entire journey. So I would look at three particular websites that I would go up and buy. I would not go offline and buy because that's a waste of my time, because everything today can be delivered home. And if you're someone who plans in advance, going online would lead to a better choice. If you know your size of footwear, your clothing, it is always advisable to buy online, since there are more discounts online compared to when you go offline, and plus you are saving time and money to go to the particular store. The three places that I would shop from would be Decathlon, number one, number two would be Wildcraft, and number three would be Amazon. So now at the from Decathlon, what I would end up buying is the backpack. If you're someone who's new to traveling in the Himalayas, the backpack is something that I would pick up. Most probably everybody will have their own day pack, but a backpack would be something that not everybody has, and if somebody is not okay with borrowing from a friend or a near and dear one, then you should buy one. And Decathlon arguably makes the most affordable and the best budget friendly backpacks that you can get in India. These backpacks last a while, so if you're buying one, make sure that you buy one which is minimum 50 to 70 liters, anywhere between that range, depending on how often you travel and depending on how long you travel. For someone who's traveling for any time between 3 to 7 days, a 50-liter one is enough, but that's provided you're a light packer. If you're a heavy packer, even 70 liters is not going to be enough. So I would ideally look at this one, which is 50 liters for around 5,000 rupees, or I would go for the 70 liters, which is for 6.5, because between these two backpacks, most of my travel gear will fit in. I wouldn't go for anything costlier than this, because this is my entry level backpack that I'm looking at. A 70 liter ideally is what I would take, so that would be 6,500 to start with, and I'm looking to cap out the entire shopping in anywhere between 20 to 25,000, not going beyond that. Ideally I would want to stick to 20,000, but if it goes beyond that, then okay, fair enough. Now once I've got the backpack, a day pack is a laptop bag which everybody will have with them, so you do not need to be buying one. Buying one will just increase your expense, and if you want to buy one, you can look at this 30 liter backpack from Quechua, which is for around 2,000 rupees, which is a good buy. Or you can go for the 20 liter one, which is for around 1700 rupees, which is another good option. But my personal recommendation is get a backpack that you already have and use that for your day pack. It'll save you an unwanted expense. Now that this is done, I would the next step for me would be to go about and look for go and so the next thing that you need is thermals is something which is very very important, and thermals is best found at Decathlon. Let me just navigate through this. The best thing that I would suggest is to go and have a look at their clearance sale, because they generally have a lot of good options when it comes to the clearance part of it, where you'll find a lot of jackets and a lot of other accessories. So like, for example, this sweatshirt which is on sale for 600 rupees for the male version, and the female version which is as low as 500 and 700. So I would look at those as very good options to buy as fleece, and including the 600 rupees fleece which is also there. So even jackets are available for men for as low as 2000 rupees, and these are good jackets. So these jackets, when you're buying them, make sure that you have one regular jacket and one bomber jacket with you. If you're someone who doesn't have track pants, you can also get these track pants from Decathlon, which are anywhere between 1,000 to 2,500, depending on how much you are willing to spend. You need a pair of pants which will keep you warm. So my personal recommendation is to go for cargo pants. If you have them, well and good. If you do not, you will need to buy at least a couple of them. And these I would recommend get them from Decathlon or from any store online like Max or even Westside will have them. Do not spend a bomb on them, but just make sure that they're thick enough to keep you warm. Do not go for shorts. You'll definitely need one fleece sweater and a bomber jacket. A bomber jacket, like now for example, for a In the clearance sale, there's one for ladies which is going for around 4,000, which can keep to a temperature of -10. So you need something like that which can keep to a temperature of at least -10 to -15. Getting something which is 0 degrees is good, but if you're going to extreme weather like Spiti in winter, which is going to be in -15 to -25, these jackets are not going to hold long for you. So look for a jacket which will give you a good amount of warmth when you're going to a place like Spiti Valley or Ladakh or Kashmir or even Tawang in winter. And go to the clearance sale of Decathlon. You'll find a lot of good options over there. Like there's one jacket for men which is for 3,200, which they are saying can keep you warm till -10. I would go for this one, which is for 300, sorry, and I would take another fleece jacket from here, which is for 600. So my total expense for the jacket would be say around 4,000 rupees. Club that with my backpack, which would be for around 6,500. So that would take my grand total to so far around 10,500. So the most important things are done. My backpack is for 6.5k, and my jackets are for 4k. Yeah. So now I've got say another 9,000 left. Now what do I need in the next 9,000 rupees? See, t-shirts is something that you will have at home, so do not buy them. You might want to get the perfect photograph, and you might think like buying a new t-shirt will come really handy and all of that, but trust me, it's of no use, because personally in that cold you're never going to come out of the jacket. So no matter what shirt or t-shirt you want to buy, carry what you have, and do not waste money on buying new clothes in terms of t-shirts, or even in the fact if you can borrow a jacket from someone who has a -10 jacket, go ahead and get that. Now when it comes to mufflers and gloves, I would recommend you can buy that offline, because no trip will directly start by you reaching the coldest place. You will gradually move up, and you will always find winter wear sold in all these places. So buy it offline, because when you go there you'll get a better set of woolen clothes in terms of the muffler and even your gloves, because those are cheaper and easier to find in the place where you're traveling to. Now when it comes to woolen socks, even that you can buy when you reach the destination that you're planning on traveling to. Thermals is something that you can buy either from Decathlon, or you can also buy it on from a place like VIP, from any store locally. So now this is done with the basics, that is your backpack and your jackets are done. I told you from where you can get your gloves and your muffler. The next very important thing is a sunglass. Now sunglass, you need UV protected sunglass, because snow blindness is real, and when it is snowing and snow gathers, you need your sunglass, otherwise it's going to be really painful and hard for your eyes. So now what's the best way to go about it? My personal recommendation is that if you have glass and they're not very costly, take them along. And why am I saying not very costly? Because on trips like these in winter, if you're going to be carrying a pair of really expensive glass, there's a tendency of you ending up breaking them, losing them, and scratching them. So if any of these three things are something that you are worried about, the best way that I would suggest is go to Lenskart and check out their sales section. You'll find good UV protected glass from anywhere between 600 rupees to 1500 rupees. My personal recommendation is get at least two of them, because you need a backup, so that by default, even if one breaks or ends up getting lost, you have another one. You cannot do this trip without UV protected sunglasses. Keep that in mind. So I would keep a budget for sunglasses at around 2000 rupees for two, because I don't want to really overspend buy really fancy glass which are going to be costly, because it doesn't make sense for a trip like this, because it's just a trip. I just need them for the trip and then I'm done. So that would take up my entire total now to 12,000 rupees. So now I've got another 8,000 in the kitty to spend, and I'm nearly done with most of my shopping. Now what do I need from Wildcraft? From Wildcraft I would go and look at the section for shoes. Now when it comes to shoes, why I would recommend Wildcraft is primarily because when you're buying from Decathlon, everybody has Decathlon shoes most probably on the trip, and that becomes a real headache when you are trying to figure out which pair is yours, because they all look the same, and it's similar to what life in school was when you were leaving your shoes outside a computer lab, or before you entered a temple or a holy place. And to avoid this headache, I would personally recommend go for Wildcraft, because their shoes are not very expensive. Like you can look at this one, which is on 50% discount. It's for just 2,100. This is a non-anklet. If you're looking for something with ankle support, there's even one for 2,000 rupees with ankle support. So Wildcraft is where I would pick up my shoes from, because those are unique, good grip, and they are better than the Decathlon personally after using them for the past couple of years that I've been using them. The next thing that I would get along for this trip is a pair of slippers, and that would be my home slippers. And this comes really handy when you're going to the washroom, because no matter how you feel, it's sometimes not comfortable to go with shoes, because if you end up dropping water on them, even if the shoes are waterproof, it might end up becoming a real problem. And no matter what, you cannot have a bath with shoes, so you do need slippers. So carry slippers, rubber slippers with good grip. Do not carry worn out rubber slippers that will end up making you slip. So that's what I would do with my shoes. I would keep a budget of around 2000 rupees, and I would get my shoes in 2000. So that would take up my entire spending to around 14,000 rupees. So I'm left with another 6,000 rupees to spend. So now what would I do with the 6,000 rupees? If I do not have cargos, I would spend, say, keep a budget of 3,000 rupees and get cargos in the 3,000. So I'm left with another 3,000. Now in that last 3,000, what I would do is I would ideally look at the gadgets that I need. And what are the gadgets you need for a trip like this to Spiti Valley? Number one is you need to have a power bank. So now I would go to Amazon and get a power bank. I know a lot of people will say that we have one. So if you have one, you can skip this step. And I wouldn't recommend a 20,000 power bank because it takes very long to charge. So I would recommend carrying 10,000 mAh power banks, and ideally if you can buy or carry one which is yours and borrow one from a friend, so you have two 10,000 mAh power banks with you. That's number one. Number two, what I would do is carry a power board. So now what is the use of a power board? It's basically you can charge multiple gadgets at the same time. So I would look at something very compact like this one in the video, which is, it's costly, it's steep, but it is well worth it, because you can charge multiple gadgets at the same time. There are type C chargers, there are 3 plug points. So what happens is when you reach a place for the night, you can actually charge all your gadgets together, and even maybe your roommate will benefit from this. So this would add another 1500 to my budget. And then what else would I look to buy? I would definitely look to get along with this is a torch. And why a torch? Even though your phone has a torch, I wouldn't really want to waste my phone battery for flashlight when I really need it, because I do not know when I will get to charge it the next time. So say something like an Everready, which is for 199, is ideally what I would look to buy, something which is affordable and cheap. I wouldn't really want to spend a bomb, because I'm looking for a torch which is lightweight. And the remaining money would be used to buy other, say I got around 1000 rupees, 1300,000 rupees left. I would buy medicines. I would definitely buy a toilet roll. A lip balm is vital. You cannot travel to a cold region without having a lip balm, because your lips will chap and it'll end up cracking your lips and you'll start bleeding. So avoid this hassle and buy a lip balm and start using it from day zero. One very important thing that I always travel with, regardless of what, wherever I go when I'm traveling to a winter place, is my power cables. Now power cables, I'm talking about my data cables. I do not go to any place without having a backup of every data cable, and this is primarily because if by chance you end up losing something, you're going to be stuck, and then you'll become a parasite trying to get a cable from somebody else, and that's a very very big headache, because then you're compromising your charging time on a journey like this when you want to click photographs. Another thing that is very important to carry is a flask, because a flask helps you keep water warm, and if you do not have one, you should borrow one. If you cannot borrow one, buy one. Milton has really good flasks which will keep your water warm, which is really a lifesaver and most important. One very important thing that I think everybody traveling to winter to the Himalayas needs is strepsils or coughsils, because you will end up with a sore throat, and the best way to avoid or postpone your sickness of falling sick with a cold is to start having coughsils the minute your throat starts irritating you. So carry at least a couple of strips of coughsils, because they come really really handy on a journey like this. Over and above this, I think there's nothing else that I would personally recommend. Maybe the last thing I would suggest is a walking hiking pole. So that you can get from Amazon, because they're really cheap on Amazon compared to other places. Because when you go to buy it from Flipkart and Amazon, they are, no, not Flipkart, from Decathlon or Wildcraft, they're really costly. So here you can look at these, which are for like around 500-600 rupees. These come really handy when you're walking. I would go for this one, which is 650 and has good ratings. because it's covered in snow and it's sometimes difficult and slippery to walk on snow. So these hiking poles give a very good support to your body while walking, and this is when you avoid slipping and falling and major injuries. Finally, I would personally recommend travel with a regular watch, that is an analog or a digital watch like G-Shock. Do not go with your smartwatches because it's difficult to charge these gadgets, and a smart and the purpose of a watch is to show you time when you're going for a holiday. I know most of you like to carry your smartwatches, but they're pretty useless when you're traveling to a cold place like that, because you're not go your fingers are going to be frozen. So imagine with a glove trying to scroll on your screen to get to figure the time and all of that. It's going to be a real headache. So carrying a regular watch is a far simpler method of understanding and getting to know the time when you're traveling to a place which is cold. So this is my checklist for anyone who's interested in knowing what they should be packing and what they should be carrying. When it comes to clothing, I would personally carry not more than 4 t-shirts in my bag. One I would wear, that makes it 5 for a 1 week to 10-day trip. I would carry 2 pairs of cargos and maybe 1/3 because honestly, you're not gonna get to change your clothes too often. Your pants, you can use them for 3 to 4 days. The more you carry, the heavier your bag is going to get, and that's going to get it's going to become real difficult. It's better to stay in the same pant for like 3 to 4 days and then change when it gets really dirty and you can't do anything about it. And remember, when you're going for a 9-day trip, you're wearing one pant, you got two in the bag, that's more than enough. You're not going to need more than that. Avoid carrying jeans because they become really difficult to travel with if they get wet, because they take a very long time to dry. And in winter, if it is not snowing and the weather goes bad, it's definitely raining. So to avoid that, do not carry a pair of jeans because they take very long to dry, they're heavy in the bag, and they're difficult to move around with. Over and above this, if you still have any queries about what you should be packing and what you should be carrying, leave a comment in the comment section and we'll be happy to help you for your travel. And do not forget to carry a water bottle, like a 1 liter water bottle like this, because with a thermos you definitely need a water bottle which will keep you hydrated throughout your journey. Till our next video, stay safe, stay happy, stay blessed.